It started with the fans. They showed up in Sheduer jerseys that aren't even available yet. They lined the rope barriers for walkthroughs. And when Sanders delivered dime after dime in red zone drills, the reaction wasn't just applause, it was a chant. QB1. QB1. Not a single other quarterback earned that. Not Flacco. Not Pickett. Certainly not Gabriel. And it didn't stop at the bleachers. Word from inside the facility says the locker room is already gravitating toward Sheduer. Rookies want to warm up beside him. Second-year receivers are pulling him aside for extra timing work. Veterans? They're watching. Silently but intently. Because when a rookie arrives early, stays late, hits his reads, rips strikes, and leaves the field to a standing ovation, people notice. Meanwhile, Gabriel is just going through the motions. He's not imploding, but he's not igniting anything either. He looks like what he is, a rookie learning on the fly. Sheduer? He looks like a leader in waiting. And that's where it gets uncomfortable for the Browns front office. Because when a locker room starts believing in someone, the old hierarchy collapses. Depth charts feel political. Reps start raising eyebrows. And whispers turn into confrontations. Why isn't Sheduer getting more reps? What exactly has Gabriel done to be ahead? Are we really giving the best guy a fair shake? The last thing a coaching staff wants is a quarterback room where the most talented player is being treated like a project. But on day one, that's exactly how it looked. So now the Browns face a pivotal decision. Embrace the truth and ride the wave, or double down on a broken script and risk alienating a team and city that already sees Sheduer as QB1. Maybe it's politics. Maybe it's race. Maybe it's just fear of admitting you were wrong. But every day, Sheduer shows up and wins. The harder it becomes to justify keeping him in the shadows. This isn't a development timeline. It's a visibility gap, and fans are watching it shrink in real time. The Browns entered camp believing they had the luxury of patience, a veteran stopgap, a former first-rounder to steady the room, and two rookies quietly waiting their turn. On paper, it made sense. But the moment the so-called QB4 torched the defense, outshone the third-rounder, and won over the crowd and locker room in a single practice, that plan disintegrated. The excuse can't be that Sheduer is too raw, because he isn't. It can't be that Gabriel just needs reps. He's had them. And it sure can't be that we're trusting the process, because the process is ignoring the reality. Shedeur Sanders just hijacked the quarterback timeline in Cleveland. And with every day that he continues stacking elite performances, with every moment Gabriel continues to underwhelm, with every rep Flacco looks like a placeholder, and every snap Pickett fades into irrelevance. That pressure builds. The fans are already there. They've made their decision. The locker room is quietly aligning. And the media? One more highlight reel, and they'll turn this into a full-blown national controversy. So what now? Do the Browns continue pretending Sheduer didn't just own day one? Or do they shatter the script, take the leap, and let the best man lead? Because make no mistake, this is no longer about patience. It's about opportunity. It's about accountability. And it's about credibility. If Shedeur Sanders keeps dominating camp and still remains buried on the depth chart, people won't just question the choice. They'll question the leadership of this organization. And for a franchise haunted by years of quarterback disasters, that's a narrative they can't afford to repeat. Not when the answer is already standing right in front of them, wearing number 12, slinging lasers, and commanding the moment. Let's rewind. This quarterback standoff between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, it didn't start at training camp. It started on draft night. Sheduer, over 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, the most sacked quarterback in Power 5 who never flinched, fell to the 5th round. Gabriel, shorter, less productive, less tested, went 2 rounds earlier. Why? Ask around, and you'll hear vague phrases. Mechanics, timing, fit. But let's be honest. This wasn't about tape. It was about control. Sheduer came to the table with his own brand, his own team, his own vision. And to some NFL executives, that wasn't confidence, it was insubordination. Sanders didn't just arrive, he announced himself. A perfect 13 for 13. Not a single incompletion. Not one off-target throw. Each pass was laced with intentionality, timing, and ice-cold composure. The kind of refined execution that coaches fantasize about, but rarely witness from a rookie fresh out of college. Rather than being met with celebration, Sanders' flawless performance sparked something else: unease. Because if Sanders is truly this poised, this polished, this NFL ready, then the league may have just let one of the biggest draft heists in recent memory slip through its fingers. Let's examine the context. Joe Flacco told the media he wasn't enthusiastic about being a mentor. If I say I don't want to mentor, I look bad. If I say I do, I look like a washed-up has-been. An honest comment, but a telling one. Flacco isn't interested in building the future. He's clinging to what remains of the past. Kenny Pickett, meanwhile, still trots onto the field wearing 2 gloves. Not for flair, but out of uncertainty. That's not style. That's a security blanket for a quarterback unsure of his grip, his confidence, and maybe even his identity in the league. These are the veterans Shedeur Sanders is supposed to be trailing. Instead, zoom out and look at the Cleveland QB room for what it really is. Not a depth chart, but a civil war of egos, injury history, and franchise desperation. Watson's mobility, once a central weapon in his arsenal, may be permanently diminished. Flacco is hanging on by threads. Pickett hasn't proven anything. Gabriel was overlooked by 31 other teams. That's not just skepticism. That's league-wide disinterest. Amid this disarray enters Shedeur Sanders. Steady, locked in, unshaken. He didn't walk in demanding respect. He earned it. That 13 for 13 wasn't a hot streak. It was a seismic signal to the league. Every completion displayed elite-level processing, poise, and pinpoint accuracy. These weren't checkdowns. These were pro reads, real NFL throws. And he delivered them like he's been doing it for years. Still, the mainstream narrative refuses to evolve. The critics cling to tired tropes. He's just Deion's son. He's a product of privilege. But what they won't acknowledge is the mental toughness, meticulous preparation, and sky-high football IQ Sanders brings into every rep. He's not coasting on a last name. He's forging his own legacy, one throw at a time. Even more impressive? Sanders didn't emerge from a gimmicky stat-padding college system. He operated a true pro-style offense at Colorado. He called protections, made pre-snap reads, worked through progressions. He carried a program under a national spotlight with every move analyzed and criticized, and he still thrived. That kind of preparation isn't just rare, it's transformational. Most rookies struggle to bridge the vast mental chasm between college and the NFL. Sanders isn't just crossing it, he's sprinting across it while leaving dust clouds of doubt behind. Now, Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski finds himself at the eye of a media hurricane. Ownership wants results from Watson and that massive contract. The press is urging him to respect Flacco's resume. He's babysitting Pickett's bruised ego. And suddenly, a sixth-round rookie has walked in and made every one of them look like yesterday's news. Stefanski told reporters they're mixing it up daily and exposing guys to different packages. On the surface, that sounds like standard coach speak. But if you read between the lines, it reeks of panic. They didn't plan for this. They weren't ready for Shedeur Sanders to dominate this early. And now? They're scrambling to figure out what the hell to do with the most dangerous quarterback in their building. And now, they're frantically trying to make sense of it. Let's break down what that flawless 13 for 13 performance actually means. Because it's easy for the casual observer to dismiss it as just practice. But those inside the league know better. NFL OTAs aren't backyard scrimmages. They're meticulously scripted training sessions, designed to test a quarterback's processing speed, timing, rhythm, and mental discipline against pro-level defenders. These reps are about precision and poise, not padding stats. Most rookies arrive and struggle. The pace is suffocating. The expectations are overwhelming. And at the quarterback position, every hesitation, every mechanical flaw, every misread is magnified in front of the entire organization. But Shedeur Sanders? He didn't flinch. He didn't just survive. He excelled. He delivered a masterclass, not by accident, but by design. Because he's been preparing for this long before he ever declared for the draft. And that's the dividing line. That's what separates Sanders from the rest of this overcrowded and unstable quarterback room in Cleveland. He's not begging for a shot. He's already playing like the job is his. And we still haven't addressed the $230 million elephant in the room, Deshaun Watson. On paper, he's still the face of the franchise. But football isn't played on paper. It's played on practice fields, in locker rooms, and under stadium lights. And if Watson stumbles out of the gate while Sanders surges, Cleveland will be forced to ask the unthinkable. Do you ride with the highest-paid quarterback in the league? Or do you elevate the leader who gives you the best chance to win right now? Because Sanders isn't just some feel-good underdog story. He's not a gadget player. He's not a publicity stunt. He's the real deal. And the storm he's stirring in Cleveland? It's not just a headline. It's a reckoning. And a football IQ so advanced, it's forcing even the most skeptical scouts to revisit their evaluations. With every pinpoint rep during OTAs, Shedeur Sanders is raising the bar and raising eyebrows. But beyond the stats and sharp throws, what's resonating most deeply with insiders is his resilience. For every compliment, Sanders absorbs criticism with humility. For every perfect throw, he's the first to point out what he could have done better. He doesn't bolt from the facility when practice ends. Instead, he lingers, studying film, asking nuanced questions, refining his timing with receivers. That obsessive commitment is the trait that separates the good from the generational. It's the trait Tom Brady lived by. Drew Brees embodied it. Patrick Mahomes still thrives on it. And now, the Cleveland Browns, an organization long tormented by quarterback chaos, may be staring at a completely different problem. Not a lack of talent, not a revolving door of washed-up backups, but an abundance of it. The emergence of Sanders is forcing leadership to not just reassess this year's strategy, but to reconsider the future of the franchise. There's a subtle but powerful shift happening in Cleveland. A future that once appeared locked and sealed is now flickering with uncertainty. And at the core of that upheaval stands a 22-year-old rookie. One who wasn't supposed to arrive like this, not this quickly, and certainly not this sharp. Outside Berea, fans are just beginning to hear the rumblings. But inside the facility, The message is loud and unmistakable. There's a quarterback competition underway, and Shedeur Sanders isn't stepping aside, not out of arrogance, not to prove a point to the media or even to his father, but because this is who he's always been. From Trinity Christian High to Jackson State to Colorado, he's had to fight for every snap, every opportunity, every ounce of respect. And now in the NFL, he's doing it all over again, one perfect pass at a time. There's a poetic irony to all this. For years, critics painted Sanders as a manufactured sensation, a social media creation inflated by the magnetic legacy of his father, Deion "Primetime" Sanders. The headlines wrote themselves. Coach's kid gets special treatment. Inflated by name recognition. Overhyped and undertested. But what those critics never grasped was that being a Sanders didn't open doors. It added weight to every step. Sheduer hasn't just performed under pressure, he was raised in it. Every snap he's taken has come with a spotlight blinding his every move and a microscope dissecting every mistake. Where others might have collapsed under that scrutiny, Sanders sharpened. Every sarcastic remark about privilege only fueled his work ethic. Every snide comment about sunglasses and flash only drove him deeper into the playbook. And now, surrounded by hardened veterans and cautious coaches, he's not running from that pressure. He's converting it into fuel. Cleveland has seen its share of false prophets. Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, each anointed the future, each eventually discarded. But Sheduer isn't cut from that cloth. He's not erratic like Manziel, not mechanically broken like Quinn, not mentally fragile like Couch. He's poised, precise, and above all, unbothered by the noise. What started as whispers around the league are quickly turning into conference room conversations. Scouts from other franchises are placing quiet calls to the Browns staff. How's the kid looking? Is this buzz legit? And the answer, more and more, is simple. It's real. You can't fake the kind of chemistry Sanders is building. You can't manufacture the velocity or the touch he's showing. You can't fabricate the way defensive backs mutter in frustration after he drops a laser between the seams. And the national media? They're slowly catching up. What was once Deion's son is now being rebranded as a field general with veteran-level anticipation. He's manipulating safeties with his eyes, calling out blitzes, adjusting protections, reading coverages like someone who's been doing it for half a decade. And the Browns, who thought they were drafting a developmental QB, are now realizing he's developing too fast to contain.